Hello everyone, I'm Luxon, and I finally remembered that I have a YouTube channel. This is just going to be my patch review of Splatoon 2 2.2.0, which, ironically enough, even though it has been out, I haven't actually played yet, just based on timing-wise. I've been pretty busy the last few days, so the gameplay you're seeing was actually recorded before the update came out. At least it's actually Clamblitz this time. I don't think I used Clamblitz gameplay the update that came out, but we're rolling with it. First off is the bug fixes as usual. Bubble effect displayed when taking damage when submerged wouldn't be displayed. Okay, so visual effect bugs. A lot of visual effect bugs actually. So that's kind of not really pertinent stuff to talk about. Yes, visual bugs. Wow, a lot of these bugs are visual bugs. There's a bug on the ink rail, which if people were overlapping as they move, they would move slightly away from the center of the screen, which I guess is sort of push them out from the origin of the camera or something. I guess that makes sense. Fixed an issue where bubbles from a bubble blower could take damage from attacks on the other side of terrain when they were close to the surface of said terrain. So the same thing where you could hit the Rainmaker shield through walls, I guess you could do that for bubbles too, and they fixed that, which, okay, makes sense. Clamblitz bug, you could pick up clams that just spawned without touching them. That's interesting. I wonder if that's a lag-related thing. Clams or power clams would occasionally be placed somewhere, making them unable to be gathered when the goal is in a higher area. I wonder if that means that if you miss your power clam throw on Starfish and it lands on the ledge underneath the basket, you could go pick it up again because you couldn't before then. Fixed an issue on the reef where you could get into the opponent's spawn by accident. Fixed an issue on Starfish. That's just a visual bug. Another issue on Starfish where you could get points for inking uninkable floor. I don't even know how you pulled that off, since I thought the turf points counted as, or were considered from a top-down camera perspective, but that might have just been the first game, so I don't know. Fixed an issue where the game would forcibly close when a player did a splash. Alright, I've never heard of this one. You could crash your game by splashdowning in a certain spot under the drawbridge in Sturgeon Shipyard. That's interesting. Okay. Bug on Moray where you could stay on squid form on steel girders. Okay, that I guess was technically an out-of-bounds glitch that they fixed. An issue on Snapper Turf War where you could ink underneath obstacles. So that, again, I think that's been patched on other maps too, where in modes where obstacles are added, they just put the obstacles there. They didn't remove the turfable ink underneath, the turfable ground underneath that, so you could still cover that and get points for it. So they fixed that. Just the placement of terrain, of out-of-bounds terrain on Walleye, and removed a space from which players could attack only from one team's base. Okay, so there was some accidental asymmetry there. And they adjusted the out-of-bounds terrain. I'm not sure why they did that, because I haven't heard of any walleye out-of-bounds glitches in this game, so maybe that's actually a proactive measure. Let's see. Schellendorf Institute stuff. This did actually come out before the patch, I think. So they're not patching something before it came out like they did with the Bamboozler. Adjusted the lightning. Adjusted the lighting, not lightning. That's the thing they did on a bunch of maps in the past, so they're probably just updating that Schellendorf's assets to match. When certain uninkable walls were hit with ink, the game would show the same animation as inking an inkable wall. Okay, that's just another visual bug. There was a bug where bombs could disappear if they hit a wall, weirdly. Splat zones and tower control. Okay, this has a typo in it. It says, fixed an issue on Schellendorf Institute and Splat zones and tower control in which players could briefly through the surface of certain areas of terrain. Presumably that means that's trying to say clip through, but okay, you fix out-of-bounds stuff, that's okay. Fixed an issue on Schellendorf in every mode except Rainmaker, where the box in the center wouldn't be displayed on the turf map, so I guess that's just updating the turf map files. Fixed an issue on terrain that moves in Shifty Station, which would occasionally move in a halting fashion. I thought that was a result of internet connection causing it to move that way, but apparently it's a regular bug that they fixed, so good for that. Let's see, Salmon Run. a lot of these are fixed a rare issue in which, so clipping bug with touching a scrapper on a slope, visual bug if you hit a scrapper with a sloshing machine, bug where if you threw a bomb in a flyfish container right before the hatch closed, the next bomb that hit that area would explode instantly. I'm surprised they haven't patched that one yet, because that happens a lot. I think that probably happened week 1 for me, but I don't know, maybe they couldn't figure out how to patch it until now. Fixed an issue where oh, that's a kind of bad one. I'm glad they fixed that. Apparently, if someone disconnected in the 10 seconds between waves and everyone died on the next wave, then it wouldn't automatically kick you out. You have to wait until time ran out, which would kind of suck, so I'm glad they fixed that. And fixed an issue in which it was possible to cause damage to a gusher in background terrain. I don't even know how that works, because there aren't any gushers. I don't know. I probably just don't know where gushers are. But other changes tab. Fixed an issue in which a piece of terrain seemed to be floating in midair when viewing a match in Walleye using the overhead camera in spectator mode. I guess that's just an issue with the hiding of certain objects, and they hadn't tested spectator mode with Walleye or something yet. I don't know. It's makes those tournament spectatings look even crisper, I guess. Fixed an issue in which certain gear was displayed. My god, I am so out of practice, I can't talk. Displayed brightly even when in shadow. That's just lighting error, I guess. Amiibo picture error, where Amiibo photo mode you could clip into terrain, I guess. They fixed that. And fixed the issue where the equipped gear of a player with a star in the rank would change to Splattershot Jr. when they appear in the plaza. That's pretty funny. I guess because when you prestige, you hit level 99 and then you go to level star 1. I guess it defaults your gear to whatever level 1's gear is, and that's the junior, because that's the only thing you can have at level 1. So they like, that's actually really funny. But here's the meat of it, as usual. Patch notes for the main weapons. Splattershot Jr., easier to ink the area under your feet. This might be bringing it back to Splat 1 stats, which would make sense since I think that might have been changed. Not sure. That's okay. Junior's getting a buff. Could have gotten a better buff, but whatever. Dynamo. Increase the maximum damage to 180 from 150. Adjusted how damage from horizontal swings decreases over distance. The lethal range is the same, but the decay of damage for past that actually has been decreased, so you can deal 50 plus damage from a longer range, which is pretty cool. You can pick people off better with Dynamo, which is good. I like Dynamo buffs. And I'm totally not just saying this because like half of my teammates play Dynamo. And then the same thing for the vertical swing, but the decay was decreased less, so it's only 11% instead of 21%. Flingza, increase the area inkable with a vertical swing. Adjusted how damage from vertical swings decrease over distance. Lethal range has been increased by 11%, and 50% range has been increased by 13%. So the part of the Flingza that makes it allegedly better than Vanilla Roller was changed, and it's still gonna be bad. Don't pretend that it's not. Ink Brush increased movement speed while swinging by 67%. So Ink Brush can do this thing where if you mash the ZR button to swing, you could do this little skating thing where you'll skate around forwards or backwards or wherever way you're pointing the control stick, so I guess that's been made faster now. Run speed still doesn't do anything for it though, so don't run speed with rollers, like, ever. If you do, you're bad. Bamboozler, increased mid-air charge speed. They just straight up doubled that. Okay. Gootuber, increased damage when not fully charged by 63%. The Gootuber can now one-shot without being at full charge. It's now the only charger in the game that can do this. That's really funny because they're trying to make it good, but they're oh so desperately failing. Oh, they're trying. They'll get there eventually. Every version of regular Slosher and lag on sloshing was decreased a bit. Okay. Increase the size of the closest ink generated and the likelihood that it will be generated at the player's feet. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the way that sloshers paint is specific, like, blobs of ink that are distributed pseudo-randomly along the trajectory of the slosh. So I guess that just means that the one that's designed to be closest to the player is now bigger and more likely to be right at the player's feet, because so you could have something to stand in, I guess. That makes sense. Heavy Splatling. Increased damage to 32 from 28. This makes it now basically a guaranteed 3-shot if they're standing in any ink whatsoever, which is... Nah, I don't play Splatling, but that's good if you do, I guess. Dapple Doolies. Increased hit detection on every shot, so you can hit people easier. That's good. That's actually a really good buff. Reduced ink consumption. That's also pretty good. And reduced interval between... Oh, okay, they reduced the end lag of dodge rolling, too. Which is nice. Dapples, especially with Dapple Nouveau coming out, are actually getting pretty good. I might swap to them instead of using Vanilla Doolies sometimes. Actually, they did get the same buff and the same end lag buff, just not the ink consumption, so maybe not. Galuga Doolies also... Okay, every Dually got buffed. I should have read through this beforehand. Also got reduced ink consumption, but not as much as Dapple. And reduced the width of the shot spread for shots immediately after firing. So the Galuga has 2 types of shots. It has your initial shot and then your other shot. So the point of Galuga is that the initial shot, or shooting directly after rolling, or no, it is only shooting directly after rolling, does more damage. So they reduced the shot spread for shots immediately after that one, it looks like. And wow, that's another typo in the patch notes. Dually Squelcher is listed as Dual Squelcher, and it got the same accuracy, effectively accuracy buff that every other Dualies did. And this is actually not listed in the English patch. Good lord. I cannot speak tonight. But this was not listed in the English patch notes. I'm not sure if it was in the Japanese ones, but this is a change that people have discovered on their own. Going back to the Bamboozler, not only did it get the kind of pointless double in-air charge speed, but it can also pierce now. It's the only charger that can do that. That's going to be pretty dangerous in the future, which I want to see how people do with that, honestly. Let's see. Splat Bomb got an increased radius of minimum damage. Suction Bomb got an increased radius of minimum damage. Curling Bomb got a bit of a nerf. Oh, actually, all bombs got minimum damage radius nerfs, not buffs. I'm reading that really wrong. So they just deal damage over a smaller radius now, which is interesting. I'm guessing that means that the damage radius is now a lot closer to the radius it actually paints. Because you could get hurt even if you weren't in the radius of the floor that a bomb would actually ink in the past, so it's probably just making it closer to that, which, I mean, makes sense. People are kind of abusing bombs, so this is Splat, Suction, and Curling. Not Burst. Not Auto. So those are unchanged. And Curling Bomb got an ink recovery nerf, which means after using it, ink will start refilling slower. Which is interesting. This is one of the first times that something's been nerfed that way. Usually you only see things with ink recovery buffs, so that's a thing. Curling Bomb Launcher got a full 40 frames extension to its default time, which is nice. And Bubble Blower. Bubbles are easier to be popped by opponents' attacks when they've shrunken by a certain amount. This hasn't been nerfed enough. They need to just straight up decrease the HP of bubbles, decrease the size, decrease the effects of special power-up, because Bubble Blower is the only special where special power-up doesn't have diminishing returns because of math, basically. I might actually make a video on this at some point, why Bubble Blower isn't hit hard by the diminishing returns of special power-up, and why it's actually it's the only weapon that's better to stack exclusively special power-up rather than balance that with something, just because it doesn't have diminishing returns. The more you stack, it will get better by the same amount. Every increase of like ability slots, while everything else you do get diminishing returns for. So that wasn't nerfed enough. You'll also see there was no Stingray nerf at all. And if we go into the last tab, which is the special point turf thing, the amount of points you need to get special. 52 got a 10-point buff. Custom E-Leader got a 10-point buff. Dual Squelcher, which is typoed again, got a 10-point buff. Tensorella got a 10-point buff. N-Zap got a 20-point nerf, which is good. Forge got a 20-point nerf, which is good. Both versions of Flingza got a 10-point nerf, which doesn't make any sense, because Flingza's still bad. I guess they're trying to balance out the whole increased turfing range thing, but that's still only on vertical shots, I believe. We got a Flingza. Yeah, only vertical swings get an increased distance, so that's not really going to make it turf better. So that's kind of questionable, and honestly, they didn't do a really good job of countering the OP things in the meta right now, so this isn't the greatest patch. Hopefully, once they start, like, running out of weapons to release, they can just focus directly on patching things and stuff like that. So I'm expecting there to be a major patch after the last weapons release. We're probably going to get a Sheldon's Pick type thing, but I don't know. We'll see. This wasn't as big a patch as most of the main X.0 ones, so I'm going to say there's probably going to be a bigger 2.3.0 patch at some point, and all I can say is I'm looking forward to that a lot more than I'm looking forward to playing with this one now. This video won't be going up on Sunday, but this will take the place of a Splatoon video for this week, so I'm going to try to start getting into the weekly Splatoon things again next week. But until then, this is Luxon, signing off.